Hey guys, welcome back. We're at episode 3. Welcome to If It Isn't Love podcast. I'm your host, Donisha. And right here is my awesome co-host,
J.L. Woodson.
And we're really excited about all the love and the feedback that we've gotten thus far. It feels good, for everybody to share in this journey with us and give us a lot of positive feedback. I'm really enjoying, I think I said this before, I'm enjoying the creative process behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Although, let me tell y'all, this guy is so intense you're intense when it comes to this. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like passion, but you're like, no, this, everything. And I just be sitting here because I'm just on air talent.
I mean, I like the process of doing stuff, especially I like background production and everything like that. So it's a little different when, you're doing it, trying to figure out ways to do it in your own home.
Yeah.
To make sure everything looks good for everybody out there.
Yeah. So we moved, as you can tell, we're in a different part of the house right now. We're in the living room. So we're in the living room, kitchen area. That's what happened here.
/ dining room.
/ dining room. It's an open concept. That's what it's called. That's how fancy people, right? When you're poor, is like a small space.
Mm-hmm.
When you want to fancy it up, it's an open concept living area.
Anyway.
So I like it. Today's episode I'm excited about. It is about social media, but the idea for today's episode came from this new Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't seen it, watch it. I think it's perfect for October because it is a horror film.
It scared us.
It scared me. And I had thought to watch it, but I actually accidentally watched it because I came home and you were watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming it was somewhere towards the beginning. And I had planned on just kind of sitting for a minute, looking at it, and then going to do whatever it was I was going to do. But it got me caught up. That ended up sitting and watching the whole thing. I think I watched most of it over your shoulder. And then I was like, okay, let me sit down and watch this. Because I had just gotten really involved in it. And The Social Dilemma, in a nutshell, it is about different programmers and social media
engineers. It has a lot of the people who basically coded most of these things or were in a higher position where they created the like button.
Yeah.
Did things for Google, did things for Facebook.
Pinterest. All those kinds, all these different social media apps that we use, and they're pretty much discussing how all these things are essentially ruining humanity. And it was let me tell you, it was so insane. It really made me think about how we utilize social media, what the purpose of it is. And ultimately they were saying if very soon social media isn't regulated. That's the biggest part of it. The biggest part of it is that there are no regulations on social media, right? So people talk about, alcohol, how it's available, or pornography, or cigarettes. But those are all areas that are regulated. There are taxes, there are things, and so there is none for social media. And unless you live in a place I know people who live in, I don't know if it's China or it's Korea. I think when I taught one of my students from this summer from China, and she was saying the Facebook is very different. There's what the government wants you to see, and it's super regulated. They don't have as many options as we do in terms of what the content.
Free use and free choice.
Yes.
And stuff like that. Okay.
Stuff they cannot do. So it was a thought in terms of that. So it was really interesting when it was talking about how many things happen via social media, and it's become ingrained in how we do everything. And you don't even realize what aspects of social media use is controlling what you do in real life.
Right.
And every time I see people who are just like, I don't have social media, I always think it odd.
It's like, you think it's weird.
But after seeing this, I was like, okay, maybe not.
Right.
Like,
it's like
maybe it makes sense to be off the grid, so to speak.
It's like, what are you trying to hide, man? Like, you don't want to have a life? You don't want to have an internet life? Come on now. Yeah. And then you think about it, like, in a way, I kind of envy those people because, like, they aren't attached to the social media. They aren't attached to their phone. Like, my cousin, she hasn't been on social media for a good time. Like, I mean, Snapchat. But other than that, like, she didn't have a Facebook. She just got an Instagram again. And I'm like, at first I thought it was like kind of odd. And then I realized, like, the more and more I keep using it for myself and everybody else, it's like, you do want to detach. You do want to not share everything with everybody.
Yeah. But then the interesting thing is they talk about how much of an addiction it actually is. And the fact that you have to wean yourself, or that you have to have a certain level of discipline to stop, to get off your phone, right? Most people, okay, I want to be careful about using all-encompassing words like that. But many people who utilize social media do it first thing in the morning. Before you rub the crust good from your eye, you probably still got sleep in one eye. And you're flipping on Facebook. And it's like, it really made me ask myself questions like, what? Why? What is so important outside of my world and getting up and wiping the eye boogers out and going to pee and drinking some water and having a cup of coffee or whatever, that has to happen before I leave. I get out of the bed. And then you always think, oh, I'm going to scroll for 2 or 3 minutes and get up. And you look, and if you try to get up early to go somewhere, you now running behind because you spent an hour scrolling for something that adds just about zero value to your life. The scarier part about that is, as much as I realize this, not doing it is still not easy.
You have to, like, actively, like, even this morning, I actively had to put the phone down because, like, of course I had to get dressed and get ready for this. But it's like, I'm just laying on the edge of the bed, just going down the Facebook rabbit hole of, like, videos that I missed or something like that. And it's like, okay, I'm literally sitting here. I sat there, like, laid across the bed watching videos for 30 minutes.
Yeah. I know, because I think when I got out, when I was doing my other video, I could hear you be like, oh shit, like, time had passed. And it's just like, what you thought was 30 minutes was 30.
Right.
And you think about how much time you have in a day. And you just feel like, and how much am I spending? And let me tell you, the other part I think that they mentioned in the documentary that I thought was important was that social media is still, and how we utilize technology is still one of the greatest things, right, that we've done, that has happened to humanity, because there's so much that we can do on this phone, right? Okay. Like, I mean, we're how you see this video is on a phone, you know, so it has so many advantages, but unregulated, it is potentially so dangerous. And it always makes me think about, you know, how we grew up. We're millennials, so I really feel like we're at an age, and being kind of like an older millennial, where everything happened. I remember very clearly what life was like prior to social media.
I barely remember,
but I feel like I remember it like very well. Like, I remember yes, right now it'd probably be really hard to think what to do if we didn't have it. But I also remember, like, pay phones. I remember, you know, home phones. Like, my first phone, like, where kids nowadays, all their first phones is a cell phone.
Right.
I had a phone line. And I remember in the 7th grade, I had my own phone line, which is like 1 digit different than my mama's phone. And I got a cordless phone, but it was like, still, none of my friends could not talk to me if I was not in the house.
Exactly. Like, it wasn't like you were on a bus and everything.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
If we weren't together, we weren't together.
Right.
Like, if I hadn't gotten home from school yet, and then to think about, like, you know, your child leaves and goes to school all day and you don't hear from them until they get home. And that's how you know. When I used to go to my friend's house and I would take the bus, my mama would like walk me to the bus stop, or she would time me. Like, it should take you this long based on knowledge. Not even like the bus schedules that they have nowadays. It was just like, it should take you this long to get off at this stop, even if there's whatever, and you walk and then you get to your friend's house. I would get to Evie's house and it's like, and then you call me. Or you have her mom call me to let me know that you made it there. And it's like, when cell phones, like my first Nokia, I didn't even get to my freshman year of high school. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we were fairly...
You was privileged.
My grandmother got us, she got all the older kids and I was the oldest. And I mean, it was like minutes. Like, don't get me wrong. It was to text her.
I didn't get a phone until I was on my way to Fisk.
Oh. That's when I got my first that's when I got my first flip phone. I got it this summer. I mean, because I'm a little summer job. But I just feel like, I remember the transition of like when you were in school. I remember having to write my papers and things like that. And I remember having
look up things in the dictionary.
Yeah, and having a hard disk, and God forbid you lose that little silver piece. You just in trouble. And how that transitioned to USB, and now we have the cloud and like all this other stuff. So it's like, I wasn't a kid. I mean, I was a kid, but I wasn't like, I was in school and we were doing these types of things. So in that way, I'm saying, like, I remember life before all of this. Instagram, I didn't have an iPhone until maybe 6 years ago. Instagram, when it came out, it was only for iOS.
Yeah.
And it didn't come out to like 2012 or something like that. But by the time I got in like 2014, it's like, so we're still talking about things that are like 6-8 years ago. But how much, when Facebook, the iterations of Facebook, since, it was for college students, and how that's changed, and it really, now I'll say, after we first watched the documentary, I got the screen report from my phone and it was like, it's down 14%, because I was just, the next day, as soon as I got up and I turned, because my phone has an alarm. So as soon as I turned my alarm off, I like got to do it and I was like, no. And I just put it down, went to the bathroom. And I think I was going to the gym that morning. So I like got dressed and did everything. And I made a promise to myself that I would not look at social media until I got dressed. So like the thing is, like, don't look at social media until you're ready for the day. Like, so I'm like on my way to work or whatever. I think that lasted like 2 days.
Shoot, I tried. Like, okay, I have to think about how everything, like, actively think about how everything was before cell phones and before even just the iPhone. Like, of course, I had a clock radio for my alarm, and it was set to an alarm, and then it spun a CD. CDs.
Whoa!
Shut your face,
Grandpa.
But
he's like, back in my day.
Anyway,
it was about $1.50. Okay, I'm sorry.
Shoot, the fact that gas price, never mind, that's a different story. So the alarm would go off, but the thing was, I was very hard on a lot of clock radios, especially my alarm. So there have been plenty of times where I just knocked the whole thing off of the nightstand and everything like that, and that's, I got to get another one. I'm not knocking that phone off the nightstand or anything like that, because I don't want to break it. Of course, that's way too.
Breaking alarm clocks.
I'm not a morning person.
If you're an alarm clock and you felt the abuse of J.L. Woodson, please call in. We're here to help. I'm here to help. You don't have to suffer alone.
Anyway, but no, but it's just a lot of stuff that I didn't like. Of course, when I even forget what I was doing, like when I was going to school on the bus and everything like that, I forget what I was doing if I didn't have a phone.
We were reading. I still love to read, but I know I always had a leisure book. So when I took the bus in school, I was reading. I had a CD player, so I would listen to music. We were just we were living. And we were living. We were just people watching, especially riding a bus in Chicago. That's
you got
always entertaining. We were just like watching stuff. We were in the moment. And I think that it's so crazy that we're in a world where we have to force ourselves to just live because we're so caught up in our phones where we're ultimately watching other people live or watching other people pretend to live or watching replays of ourselves when we were living.
Right. And then on top of that, like, okay.
We say this as people who are recording a podcast and you're watching it on social media. So
or YouTube.
So it's a little ironic, but I mean,
I get it. But also, like, it brings in the question, like, so, you know, like when people are at parties or anything, like they go to a party or a club or anything like that, and then basically doing this the whole time, like, look at me, this, that, and the other. Are they living or are they doing something different?
I think it can be both. I've absolutely been the person that is like, I would rather not be here. And then get on Instagram like, it's lit. And then close it and be like, can we go? I did that the first New Year. Not the first New Year I was here, but the first New Year when Drea moved here and we went out. And I was just like, she was like, yeah, we should go out. And as soon as I got there, I was just like, all right, go be in the house. So when we recorded ourselves, like the countdown, it literally was like the hypest moment. But you know, people get hyped for the countdown. But outside of that, I was like, but I also think sometimes you're with friends, you're having a good time, and you might be like, say hi, But sometimes when I'm having the best times, unless I'm thinking like I would like to capture this because I remember it, there's like no footage because I'm like in the moment, or they're doing things where I left my phone. Like that's because when I go on vacation. I'm going on a cruise, like I leave, like there are things like I know I want to take pictures of or outfits or whatever, but sometimes I'm very intentional about leaving my phone so that I can just do what I want to do and not think about it.
I think because like even when we do a lot of different things, like I notice like the interactions with like other people, like how they are, like all of us are really engaged in social media. So I'm just using her phone because that's my phone right here. So you basically do this, be smiling and everything, like basically acting like you live in life, and then to edit the photo or edit the video, hashtag this, that, and the other, and it's just like happy, blank face. Yeah. So it's like the polar opposite of what you're portraying sometimes. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I don't really even take a whole lot of pictures, like, unless it's like somebody else taking the picture. I'm like, okay, I'll smile for this one. Because I don't want to be that person where I'm just like doing that and then straight to editing. Like, even I had to notice when we went on our cruise and everything, I had to figure out whether I was taking the videos of the water and everything like that. Was it for me or was it for social media?
But it's like, is that bad, right? So this is the other part. When we think about this journey that we're taking and podcasting and, you know, I'm restarting my own YouTube page and all that kind of stuff. It is for other people. It is not, and in hopes that it could even be monetarily beneficial, right? So it is, in a way, some of the scariest and the worst parts of it, right? Like we were watching the documentary. And it talks about how the algorithms are set and how they're how the algorithms are set.
Okay.
Algorithms.
I mean, some people pronounce it algorithms. Some people.
The algorithms.
I'm sorry.
It's like pecan. Okay?
Right.
Tomato.
Right.
Y'all know what I was talking about. The algorithms.
It's like data and data.
Right. Algorithms. That's sophisticated. The algorithms.
Anyway.
So those things, they're like set to make you purchase things or look at things. And I always forget when you're signed into one thing and then you sign into it on another thing, like how quickly they talk. Okay. So we have like the Jajo gathering and they're ordering Chipotle for us. So focus. That's not what this is about.
Chipotle.
Okay. So we're ordering Chipotle and when they were like, what's your order? I was on my computer so I could pull up the Chipotle menu. And so I could like specifically like, okay, this is what I want on it.
Right.
Text it to them. Went on. About 5 minutes later, I was on Instagram. Literally the second advertising was Chipotle. I was like, no!
They're listening.
And then I just went and I found out how to like hide advertisements and like, don't show me this again.
Right. But it's like,
because it's just like, damn, I'm gonna eat Chipotle when I'm gonna eat it, but you don't eat. I was like, you're
feeding my addiction for food.
It's like you're trying to feed my addiction for like, okay, now I'm thinking about Chipotle outside of this instance, and it's like, but that's what these people pay the advertising dollars for, because they know that I'm gonna be there scrolling. And as scary as it is, there is a part of me that wants to benefit from that. I want people to see. That's why we put hashtags. That is specifically why we use hashtags, so people can follow that hashtag in the hope to see some of your content.
Right.
And then they see your content, and then they like your content, then they buy into your content even more, and it like becomes this cycle. And it's like, are people designed to have this level of discipline that you have to have? Right? Like, even when you talk about the alarm clocks, I remember kind of going through something like this at one point, and I bought an alarm clock because I said, I don't always want to be on my phone.
Right.
But, there's ways around it. Like, we could not have our phones on the nightstands right next to our beds. We could put them across the room. Same thing with an alarm clock. You could put it across the room. And it always helped me, because ultimately what it makes you do is have to get out of the bed to make the noise stop.
Not me. I will toss that pillow across the room.
No, not if you put it by the TV, because then you think, don't want to break the TV.
That's true.
See, you'd get up and turn it off. Then at that point, if you really needed to get up, you'd be up. It's just like, okay, I'm not going to get back. It's easier to hit the alarm and get on the cover when you don't have to move. But you have to actually get up. Then the thought is like, I want to lay back down, but I'm going to be late. I'm already up. Right. Or even your phone, right? If it's across the room and you have to touch it or whatever, you have to get up and you have to focus. I used to have one where I had to answer a math equation. So I have to wake up for real.
I would never get that.
I used to have to add, it'd be something simple. You could set it to how difficult it's going to be. Like, so if it's 2 plus 2, you can kind of do it in your sleep. But sometimes it'd be something really, like, it'd be like a 3-digit addition problem. So you could do it, but you'd have to be awake to do it. Right. So I think that there are benefits to that. And you try to find like what the balance is, right? I don't anticipate, like right now I looked, my average screen time was like 6 hours and something.
But mine is terrible.
I know it is. You're on your phone way more than me.
And I hate the fact that I am, because like you focus on the fact that you are very dependent on this, and you think it's not doing any harm. You think that it's not like you're not out here killing somebody, you're not out here you're not a rapist or anything like
crack.
That. Right. But technically
it is crack.
Technically.
It's meth. It is so meth.
I think there was one of those it was either The Social Dilemma or the other one with the where it was talking about the election. I watched that one as well on Netflix. The hack. Yeah,
I didn't see that, but
but one of those documentaries said the comparison between drug companies or drug corporations and social media, they both call their members users.
Oh yeah, that was The Social Dilemma.
Right. And I was like
the only people, because everybody says customer, client,
right.
Whatever.
And I'm like, get the heck out of here.
But it really is scary. And again, like going back to not negating that there is usefulness out of it, right? You can check your emails.
Right.
There are sometimes I work from my phone, like especially like working remotely. Sometimes if I'm not in the house and I don't want to carry my laptop, I have my phone, which I can answer emails and things like that. But I also think that they did mention some things that you can do to kind of lessen the impact that it has. And some of it I've already done. Like there are certain apps I do not have notifications that come to my phone for. I should probably turn them off for Instagram, because Instagram notifications still come to my phone. Facebook notifications I haven't had Facebook notifications in years. I very purposely don't let my work emails notify my phone, because I'm like, when because what happens is people will email me from work, like on the weekend. Sometimes I might do work on the weekend, and and so I always get on one of my coworkers about like answering emails on Sunday, because I'm like, this is just in my head. Don't respond to this. You're not supposed to respond to this till Monday. This is just in my head. I need to get it out, which is why I sent it. It's not for you to respond right now. And I don't want people to feel like they have to like have access to me.
But it's like how, like, because even I noticed, like, even for work, I have to actively disconnect. Like even from email and everything like that. So like at my job, like they'll send me an email over the weekend, and I'm like, or even past 5 o'clock, I'm like, okay. And especially because like I do freelance, so I'm most of the time looking at emails or trying to look at emails like throughout the day, and then sometimes something will come up throughout the night.
Right.
I never actually figured out, or they didn't really teach this in school, like when I was doing graphic design stuff, how to balance that stuff. Like, of course, all you're just supposed to do is just do your homework. That's it, and work on a project. But there was literally no education for that balance when you are a freelancer. So technically it almost seems like you are online 24 hours.
So I understand why you would think that, but I think that as a freelancer, and if we're putting over into an entrepreneurial role, then it just means, in my mind, you have so much more control over your time than someone else, right? Like if I have to, I am responsible for responding to emails between 8 and 5, right? And there isn't like you shouldn't respond. But also, even in a professional world, there is you should anticipate that you won't get a response in 24 hours. This is like me as a businessman, like telling people business etiquette is minimally 24 hours. Right. If I do it less than 24 hours, that's great. But if you're not like someone who works in my immediate team and we have a deadline, or you're not my boss, and even then sometimes there is no expectation that I'm going to respond in an hour, because I have other things that I'm doing. And I think in an entrepreneurial role, one, it should line up with whatever expectations you've led your clients to believe you follow. Right. So if I tell you that you'll get a response within 12 hours, then if you respond to me at whatever time, that means I have to give it within that time frame. Right. But if I tell people, it's an average of 24 to 48 hours, then it gives me some breathing room to adjust. And I think that you just have to learn and practice balance. We become such a people-pleasing society and we feel, and it's something that I've had to learn, and we've discussed this before, that no one has control or power of my attention, or like, no, I don't have to give everyone who reaches out to me for my attention. Like, I know we've had moments where like my phone would ring and you'd be like, oh, so-and-so's calling. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And it's like, okay, like they're calling. It does not mean I need to answer. That's what voicemails are for. That's what text messages are for. That's what the missed call notification is for. So if I could say like, especially like if we're doing something and I know, and I always notice like if someone then calls me like back to back, right? And they say something like, okay, if my sister calls me and she called me multiple times and we're like, say we're recording, like I wouldn't answer, but she calls me multiple times, I might be like, okay, pause this because something might be wrong. Right. Or especially she'll always text me like, hey, call me, something like that. But other than that, it's like, sometimes I'm just sitting watching TV, but it's like, I haven't had a break all day and I just want to sit here. And, my mama called, my best friend called, and I just be like, not right now. But I'll call them back. Like, I have to make note. Like, let me give this let me create time. No, you can't create time, but let me carve out some time to communicate with this person. But we have this thing that every time someone notifies us, every time someone tags us or mentions us or comments on a post or whatever, we have to interact with them. We don't. We don't have to interact with them. And I feel like I've had that breakthrough. And sometimes I get sucked back in. But for the most part, that's why I like when sometimes you be like, "What did you see so and so?" But I don't see the need to comment on it. So I don't care. Like, you have to have that feeling about some stuff. I can't like everything. I can't be involved in everything. Some stuff I'm going to miss. We have collective FOMO. Like we fear like we're going to miss. I'm gonna miss shit. You just have to sometimes be like, I'm gonna miss that. And that's okay. That's okay.
See
I feel like you need to hear that. Okay. You're gonna miss things. And that's okay. Do you feel it?
Can I feel it in the air? Go away. Anyway, but I think when we're talking about, like, especially with us, like, you are one of the few people that I've noticed that actually will actively not engage or actively take a break from social media or take a break from people on social media.
Or like when I left my phone that day, you were like, "Oh my God, you left your phone." Yeah. You're like calling me, and I'm just like, "It's fine." I was like, "I'm gonna be at work for 4 more hours. I could be without my phone for 4 hours."
But see, part of the reason why, especially
when I'm at work. That's why I was at work.
But I feel like it's different for me in certain aspects because, like, part of that is my lifeline because of the fact, like, when I do work, like, especially social media design, I have to post those things. Like, so if I left my phone, there's no way for me to do anything.
I mean, yes.
And I think that's the aggravating part about actually having to work in a social media aspect, like creating designing the posts and everything like that, and then having to post them out when I'm actively trying to stay off of social media as much as possible. Yeah. Like, most of my time, that screen time, I would say at least 25% is work.
Okay, so that's not most of your time. 25% is a quarter. That means that there are 75.
You knew what I meant?
No, because I know math, and I just want to make sure I would get your math together, because I know math. Mm-hmm. And but you know what? I'm glad you said it, because I was ready to be like, yes, part of your job is social media. Creating the post, curating, and I get it, because for what we're doing, which is like turning into another job, like, so I get like when I need to like take pictures and post things and create engagement, and that's fine. And so we're talking about that balance. What part of that, when you think about how much that is happening versus mindless scrolling? And also, I don't think that there's anything wrong with like scrolling on your news feed to see, like, let me see what's up. Like, oh, look at my friends. And because we want people to engage our thing. So we want people to like look, and we want to see what else is happening, gives us ideas, places to eat, podcasts, all kinds of things. Like, or just like I love to see all my friends' kids, like all that kind of stuff. But there has to be I think you have to, and it sounds so clinical, but I think there has to be this is the time that I'm using that. I want to try to go back to a time where I'd be like, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes when I get to work, at some time in the morning, or like, right before I leave the house or whatever. And I just like set a timer. Right. And like, this is my time to scroll. When the time is up, it's up. And I used to put my phone in my desk, especially, and I still do this when I have really big projects at work. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb or on silent, and I put it on my desk. I limit the things that communicate to my phone to notify me of different stuff. Like when you say when you're working is working. But it's also like, put our phones away when we're doing other things. And we're bad at this. I think you're worse. But we're both bad at, when we're watching TV, also being on our phone. I did an experiment. I love my little experiments, so you're not paying attention. And we were watching something, and you did not touch your phone until I touched mine. And it was so funny, because you would like be watching the TV, and I would like pick up my phone, and like maybe I'm just like looking to see like somebody call, and then you'd pick up your phone, and then I put mine down, and then a little while later you'd put yours down. You would not touch your phone. But if I picked up my phone, you pick up your phone. And I was like, I want to be like, do you realize you're doing this? Is it like very subconscious? Like, I think it was very subconscious. Like, it was kind of just like oh, we're looking at phones now. Like, no. Or like it's time. Like, you know what? Oh, you know what? I haven't touched my phone in a while. Let me touch it. But it wasn't triggering in you because we were watching a movie. And so I tried to, like, even when you mentioned we were watching the comedy show, we're like, we didn't look at our phones the whole time. I try to be very intentional about, like, we are doing this.
I did notice this. Yeah, I did notice that, like, I touched my phone and I almost picked it up and I just slid it into the side of the couch, into the cushion.
Yes, like, exactly. I started doing stuff like that, like putting my phone on a charger in the bedroom and going to do other stuff in the house. I'm really trying to be more mindful, especially, you know, when we're eating at the same time. You know, sometimes we have the TV on, but like not to also have my phone, like, so I'm trying to eat and scroll. I try to like make sure, like, I mean, when you shouldn't be looking when you're driving, but like I listen to music. So I get like sometimes the screen time is happening because I'm like listening to music or I do research or.
If you are listening to this podcast in the car, turn the podcast on before you start driving. Yes. We are not trying to be responsible for anybody's accident. Please.
Okay. Yes, and no texting while driving and all that, which is something I have a bad habit of doing.
And very, very much so illegal.
It is super illegal. Yes, it's right. Please don't get caught doing it. You get a big ticket, especially living in Texas. So I feel like I want to be more cognizant of that, especially in spending time with the people that I'm with and not being. But that's what we do. Like when I go to the nail shop or like going to get a pedicure, and I always like think, oh, I have a book, but most times I'll get on my phone. And it's just like. I really want to break that habit because it's crazy. The other part about that is like people post and, you know, what they mentioned in the social dilemma is how we are not designed for that level of criticism. Right. Or even if it's not criticism, that level of acknowledgement, right? Like we're used to like, you know, you're supposed to have like your family, your friends. They may have an opinion on what you do, people you work with. But are we? And think about your celebrity. Are you really ready for like millions of people to have
access,
or the thought that they have access, or the thought to think whatever they want and say whatever they want about you? Which is why I'm also very cognizant of what I say about anybody, celebrity. Like on social media. Why do I think I'm so important that my opinion matters, especially outside of anything complimentary?
I mean, certain things deserve a think piece. Like even the whole Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez, like granted, like we ain't as rich as them, but also like that part of violence, especially among Black women, needs to be talked about. I mean, so that's like a example.
Yeah, but I mean, like people just saying like your shirt ugly, you know, like, or you think like you make this bomb picture and you only get like two likes, and then you just be like, I just got this whole new outfit because I wanted more likes, and here I get. So like people like the little girl in the video, like they talked about that. But it happens to like so many adults who then they take their pictures down because they didn't get the kind. Like I put this selfie up because I think I'm fine, and that's all I need. I don't need anybody else to like it because sometimes I'll be like, I know y'all saw it.
Most of the times it has to do with like if I'm asking a question, and it's like I hate the fact now that I think about the time I need to post in order to like reach more people. Because before it would just be like, okay, I'm just thinking this, just type it out and just rock with it. And then next thing you know, I'm on like, I probably should only post between 11 and 1 because everybody's on their phone at lunchtime. And so I've slowly gotten out of that because of the fact, like, if I'm thinking something, I want to say it. Yeah. Or if I'm taking a picture, especially if it's like just outside and in the moment, I'm like, okay, this is nice to just put up. Just let it have it.
And I think there's a difference when when you're creating things for work and you're trying to get heightened engagement and stuff. Like, yeah, but like if I just take this picture because I like this picture and I want to post this picture, like this is what it's for. And because some of the algorithms have changed and whatever, some people, like, I keep seeing posts, people was like 3 days ago.
That is crazy.
They get like new engagement. And so it's like, oh, you like this person, but you haven't responded. So now they're posting things that this person posted days ago so that I can see it. Or sometimes it's things I've already liked. And I'm like, why is it coming up in my, but whatever. I try not to concern myself with that. And I try to maintain as healthy of a balance as you can. Like, and it's hard, right? Like, I love Pinterest. And so I got so many boards and I just be creating all kinds of things. I got a house. I plan the weddings plan. Everything's planned. Nail designs, how I get my new nail styles I'm going to get next. There's a Pinterest board for everything. And like I said, even understanding like my desire to get people to buy into my brand and having to use social media for that. But I think that when we're in a space where we're not connecting with the outside world, which is really difficult, especially during a pandemic where I feel like definitely increased uses of social media and things like that. Yeah. We have to find a balance.
Right. I think because it's Facebook, like all these social media sites, like it's a social status. So what was that Black Mirror episode? The one with Bryce Dallas Howard. And basically they're swiping up and everything.
Yeah, and it's like if you like a person, but it really affected how. Yeah, see that episode of Black Mirror.
That was crazy because
it's a lot like this.
Yeah, and it's like you think about like even with the little girl in Social Dilemma, like she only got like 2 likes on one picture, and like in comparison, like that is a very low grade, especially in your social status. When you think about it in terms of like how many people are getting like thousands of shares, hundreds of likes, and then everything people like
that. When she put all those filters and altered her face and did all that, then she got more, and then it makes you feel like the authentic you is not
good enough.
And you know, that's why I feel like I always want to be very. I have pictures on social media where I'm all made up, where I have filters and all that kind of stuff. But I also have some where like, this is me in the morning, no wig or natural hair, or I'm working out, so I'm sweating and whatever, because I find those parts of me beautiful as well. Right. And I don't, and more so than for other people, but for me, I have to remind myself that I'm valuable in all those stages and I'm loved and I am fine. Like, I'm just fine in all those areas, and it doesn't always have to be like pumped up to be something different. And in this day and age, it is so hard and it's so crazy. Especially, I always think about like young girls. I think about my goddaughter a lot with that, with TikTok and all this other kind of stuff, and having to just really validate like, you don't need all this. Like, you don't need everyone's approval. True. To live your life and to be okay. Like, if people like stuff, and then like everybody wants to go viral, and it's like, what's the benefit? I've gone viral a few times, and it's like, the first time I went viral was what's that guy? I can't even think of. He does all the covers of the songs. Start with a J. He kind of looked like Quavo, but he's an R&B singer. Jacquees, yes. The king of R&B. I posted something like when he said he was the king of R&B. I think I made a post and it was just like, "Lord, grant me the confidence of Jacquees as I go into this day," or whatever. And I just put that on Facebook, like being silly, and so many people started laughing and sharing it, and it's like, "Yes, Lord," and whatever. That what happened was Jacquees reposted it. He shared it, and his comment was, "Y'all win." You know how like Offset did, he put "y'all win." So when I looked up, I had like 40,000 shares. So then like all my friends were saying like, "Look at you, Donna, you went viral." And I was like, "Okay, it was cool." And then I think when WAP came out, I did like a side by side, like me and my friends before, at church, and then me and my friends at brunch having mimosas or whatever. And one, I forgot. It was something, I forgot what was on the left. Oh, it was Kelly and Beyonce like smiling nicely at you with their little beehive, and then it was Megan and Cardi with their tongues out. And so I just be like, okay, but that's cool, but it doesn't mean anything. And I think so many people think that those things mean something. Outside, I didn't get paid for none of that. A few people was like, "That's funny." I may have gotten a few more followers on Instagram.
But it's like, okay, it's like in our like entrepreneurial life, it's exposure. like exposure bucks and stuff like that. So it's
and that's cool, but it doesn't make who I am. And I think so many people think that like that makes them.
They really do. So? Like it's one of those things where like you feel like it's much more the feeling than anything. Like they feel appreciated, they feel like, you know, so it's an accomplishment to actually have all those likes and all those shares and everything like that. Like, I think when we get our likes and everything like that, like, yeah, I like the fact that people love our relationship and love what we do. It's the fact, like, I'm not trying to push that on anybody or trying to be a pusher of a pusher. Anyway. Because, like, think about it is, like, even now, like, we use social media for dating and everything like that. Like, I mean, technically, I hopped in your DMs via social media. So, I mean, something great came out of it. But I just think when it started out, it was one of those things where it was wholesome. And then it started graduating slowly.
MySpace was something.
MySpace was one of those things that taught us how to like actually have a 100K skill over here coding stuff and everything like that.
Like I have a sparkly Bratz figure
or music in the background and everything, Jagged Edge or
trying to go to find the right HTML codes to put in, and you mess up one letter and it's just all this everything. So you're like, oh, what did I miss? Now I got to find the website that I got that from. You asking people like, hey, where'd you get that from? It was too much.
But I think it was much more of a connection tool than anything. But over time, like even in the documentary, it's not just a tool anymore. It's one of those things that actively gets your brain to think like, oh, I need to check this. I need to do this. I need to actually see who did what on what platform and everything like that. And I think there was a line in that documentary that it said, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And that scared the crap out of me because of the fact, like, technically you do feel like a product using some of these apps because, like, as much as, let's see, when you're scrolling on Instagram and you're like, sometimes you don't even have to say it and you just feel like you're just thinking it.
I do feel like Big Brother. I'm like, I have often said, did I say that out loud? Did I type that? Because it's like, how'd you know I was thinking that?
And then you see some of the stuff that's like the little slider situation on Instagram for Amazon. It's like, oh yeah, I do need that. Next thing you know, you're spending unnecessary money, stuff that could have waited like until like next week or next month on something, but you feel like you have to have it now. So all this stuff is like in full circle and in a full cycle.
And we just really have to be more cognizant of why we do things. I told you, like, after that, I was like, do I really need this? Even though it was something I was looking for initially. So when it later popped up somewhere, I had to really think about it. But I like some of the tips that they gave, like, don't do the recommended button. Like, even if you, like, don't follow, that's how you end up down rabbit holes. Like, don't follow the recommended, like, next video or next product. Don't press that. Instead, type it in. But I think one of the scariest parts of it was how they were talking about how social media is designed and how it causes a great divide. So it is curated, even without us like knowing it, for us to only see things. So you see people who think like you, who you see videos that line up with the ideas that you believe, and you don't realize there's an entirely different internet. Someone else. I could pick up someone else's phone, scroll through their feed, and see things that I've never seen before. So it when some of those posts, I think, cross over into the other realm, then we think like, oh my God, this is a one-off. But someone's phone is all these other things. And I don't want to get too much into detail of this. I do recommend that people go and watch this, but it talked about how a lot of the political climate. It talked about the 2016 election and how Russia really had influence in that, and like how that worked from a social media standpoint. Really and it really is like, if you have the money, how you can buy into that, and it makes you really consider how much control we really have as individuals, and we do. It's just not as straightforward, I think, as it once was.
Right. How do you feel that social media, like, does it have any negative effects on our relationship?
On our relationship?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Do you think?
It's like, I don't think so, but knowing how things have gone, especially even watching that documentary, is it unconscious?
I don't think it has a negative effect. Okay, so I think do I think it influences our relationship? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I think I start to see like how much we engage with social media, like outside of this. Like, and I want us both to be in a space where we're not glued to our phones.
Right.
Where they're useful, right? But the only thing I think that people see us and have a very specific idea about who we are as a couple. People who don't necessarily know us, like our friends, right? Like if you got like beef with me or whatever, and you talking to like John, you talking to a friend like, oh, she be driving crazy or whatever. Or I be like, oh girl, guess what he did? Like, you know, like there could be like our friends who like know like, oh, they're actual people. And it's not yes, we love each other, but it's not all like all day. Sometimes it's like right. On both ends. It's just like, right. But I think that, you know, I think whenever I see people try to say like, I mean, I love when people say that we're so cute and they really like love our love. And I like that because I think that we really do love one another. And so being able to kind of share that with everybody, like that makes me happy. But I also never want to be like, it ain't perfect, right? And it shouldn't be. That's not what our goal is. But okay, because we don't have a lot of time. But I do think, and maybe we can do a different episode about this, I do think that there are people who see that and will and have made concerted efforts to try to come between us. Right. And I think that it's because of how we present, like, in the public eye. And, you know, outside of our house, right? And that's what I mean by public. Like, then people would think that, oh, I want what they have. Specifically, I want her or I want him. And so now I'm going to try to, we can do a whole other episode about that. And so, like, how like, I try to, like.
Say about that.
Huh?
I got one thing to say about that.
What?
It's not just, sometimes it's not even just her or him. They will, okay, so there have been like those jokes where like, can I be in a relationship with y'all type of jokes and everything like that. There are two people that actually asked that and were serious.
Oh, okay. Well, like, they got money. Look, let me tell you.
Like, both.
Somebody's trying to build this household and they can contribute to some of these bills. We can have a conversation. Anyway. Look, I'm not just going to say no without seeing what their intentions are.
I showed you one of them. Like, I showed you one. It was like, probably, it was, I want to say.
But I'm just saying, like, if a chick come in here talking about she makes 6 figures and she want to finance the project and, you know, she just want to be a part of our lives, we should at least hear her out. We should at least hear her out.
Y'all heard it from her mouth.
Let's just not turn her away completely. Like, let's hear what she got to say before we just make y'all rash with our decisions. For real, no? I mean,
so from now on, if somebody asks me, I'm like, don't ask me, ask her.
Ask my business manager. Just for real. Okay. But no, I don't think that it has had a negative effect on our relationship. And I think part of it is, like, I hate when people say, like, oh, social media ruins relationship. And I've been watching a lot of divorce court, and most of the people not married. But a lot of times it's like what somebody posted on social media. And I think the foundation of that is that people don't have trust. These people don't trust one another already. Either because of previous relationship or something that somebody did in that relationship where they don't trust one another. Right. So the social media aspect just amplifies the issues that are there.
I think a lot of the times, like, especially if it's like, there are real relationships and then there are social media relationships. Like, of course, like when social media first came out, like, you know, you had the relationship status and everything like that. I didn't necessarily change it. because I just didn't care to. Like, you know, we in a relationship. Like when Facebook first came out. So like when we decided to be in a relationship and everything like that, and we decided to change our relationship status, like that was just it. Like it wasn't something that would have made or break us, but at the same time, it was like, why not?
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not sure, you saw The Social Network?
Like when it first came out.
Okay, so there was even thoughts going into that, like for relationship status, and then how people actually use Facebook or Instagram to go on dates or get, like, they actually do certain, like even, what was that, Quavo and what's his Sweetie? Yeah. How he just put an iceberg emoji in there, and then she replied with a ramen noodle bowl situation, and then I forgot what he said.
Yeah, but then he bought her Birkin bag. So fools out there trying to
right. They really actually did a challenge with that.
You can send a snowflake to her DMs if you follow it up with Birkin bags. If you're gonna follow it up with ghosting and
like, I don't know what she did after this
and niggerdom, then no.
Right.
That's the problem. They be following with foolery. Birkin is what she needs.
They probably replying, you can get these bills.
Right. Like, right. Wrong B. It's Snowflake and Birkin. That's how they go together.
But I think what, like, the difference between our relationship and, like, those types of relationships where it's a social media situation, like, we actually had genuine conversation. We actually had, it's not one of those things where, like, I'm grateful to the fact that we aren't always posting everything on social media, because, like, just sometimes that's me having to force myself to do it. Like, yeah, if I'm in the moment, I'm gonna post us, like, when we were on vacation or when we were in New Orleans and everything. But if it's one of those things where I'm constantly doing it just for likes and everything like that, like, how's that benefiting the relationship?
I just feel like I never think about it that deep. I post what I want to post because I like the picture. I look really cute, or I think we look cute, or we're somewhere and I like this, or I like, because as much as I like to post, I look and I don't have, like, I post maybe a few times a week, if that, but I can easily go weeks. I probably do it more now because I have podcasts and doing my own YouTube page and all that kind of stuff. But outside of that, like, and if I feel like, oh, I look really cute, especially being in the pandemic, I was not feeling, oh, I look really cute a lot. I was like, yeah, I'm here, whatever, same, So I get that. I also think, like, people, again, when people have foundational issues in their relationships, when there is no trust, when they like, when people are jealous, I've learned in my years in dating and being and interacting with in a dating atmosphere, if I feel like I need to check something of yours to see whether or not you're being faithful, that's when we should not be together. I never need to see it. If I honestly feel like I need to look, we shouldn't be together. Because, or we have big issues, because I never should feel that way. I don't need to go through your phone. The only reason I ever think to, like, have a password or have access to your phone, or you have access to my phone, I always think in case of emergency. If something were to happen and say we're out together and my phone died and you were hurt and I need to use your phone, I would need to, and your eyes won't open, and I got to open your eyes so I can put the facial recognition. I was thinking that. I'm like, now I'm like, and if only I could, because to me, it's just like, you can open my phone. Like, you shouldn't want to scroll through it, because why? I don't want to scroll through your group chats. I also understand the sanctity of group chats. If you, like, whatever. Me and my friends just be sending dumb memes all day and stuff, and what, they'll say, like, girl, this dude sent me a picture of his Peter Weeder again, or whatever the case is. Like, I just feel like there's nothing that I do feel like my stuff is my stuff, your stuff is your stuff, and there is privacy. Like, I deserve privacy. You deserve privacy. Nothing secret. I think there's a big difference. There's a difference between privacy and secret. Like, I like my private time. I think we may have talked about something like, sometimes I'm in the bathroom. I just need to have private time in the bathroom. Sometimes I'm plucking hairs from my chin and I don't want you to see that. Sometimes I'm like, what's that mole? Was that always there? Like, or sometimes I just want to be alone with my own thoughts, and that's private. I think that people should be entitled to have private time. Sometimes, like, if like you're going to the bathroom and I'll be like, well, I see you, and you just be like, well, not today. Right. At that moment, you're entitled, if you want it, you're entitled to privacy, but it doesn't mean you're doing something secret that like, I shouldn't know about this. And I think that's the difference.
But I think that's where like a lot of people don't understand that, because like I've been in like quite a few relationships where that wasn't the case, where like you know, you've seen videos on YouTube or Facebook, like even though it's technically a skit or a joke and everything like that, but like people are actually out here like, you know, what you doing in the bathroom? Why are you in the bathroom so long? And everything like that.
Why are you on the phone? Who was that? And who was that name? If I happen to glance at your phone when you're on it to see, like, but it's not because I'm trying to see. It's your phone. Like, I will never understand that. And that's mainly because even though we are in a relationship, we are two individuals. We are two people. This is my life and this is your life. We are sharing and infusing our lives. It's not a life.
Right.
It's lives. And I am entitled to my own stuff. And again, I always say, like, my intuition has never steered me wrong. And if I feel like you're doing something that is anti this relationship and I feel the need to look at your stuff, that's when I'll be like, and I'm not just like being irrational and crazy, or like you're acting really weird or weirder. Then
the disrespect, first of all.
Then I just really feel like that's my moment to be like, you know, this is it. But I don't think that social media ruins relationships. I think people who are bad at relationships, or at least the relationships they're in,
because it's just a digital version of yourself.
Yeah. Or when people try to do stuff like, this is the last thing I'm gonna mention on this. When people do like couples Facebook pages, I hate those. Like, yes, we have the If It Isn't Love podcast page, but that's our podcast.
Yeah.
It'll never be Danisha M, Jeremy W page. I never understand when, you know, it's like Danisha and Jeremy, like, this is our page. And so you don't know who you talking to. We ain't having no Facebook page in it. Like, that's crazy to me. It makes no sense.
Like, if somebody was even into that, I would have been like, technically, that's just gonna be your page because I don't want any parts of it.
Yeah, so many people have
it's
that.
so much stuff to keep up with. Like, I'm like, and then on top of that, is like, don't get me wrong. Like, there are couples that make that stuff work. I just don't think for us, like, or they will do it like their marriage plus the dog or plus the kid and everything like
That's
that.
Crazy, I'm like,
or they actually create their kids' Facebook pages or Instagram pages. Like, I feel like if that kid is one of those people who, you know, is very entertaining and everything like that, like Zaza, I think that's her name, the little girl, the one that What I Do.
Oh, I don't know who she is.
I forgot her name.
I just know the name.
Yeah, but basically, like, she's entertaining and whatnot, so I can understand that. But when it comes to, like, you know, having a couples page, I like some people that can work for. For us, I don't necessarily think that's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary at all, and I don't know. And I don't know how I feel about having children Instagram pages. I know a lot of like celebrities who have like their kids have their own Instagram pages. I even have some friends who their kids, like their babies, have like their own Instagram pages. And I kind of get it in a way where, because they're like, I'm a new parent, and so all my pictures and videos are my kid, and so I don't flood your stuff with that. Then they create one for the kid, so then they talk on behalf of the kid. And then I don't know, I think it's very new territory, right? So a lot of those kids haven't gotten to the age where now they're like, now I take ownership of my Instagram account, but now there's all these pictures when I was a baby. Is there something that's archive them? Is there something like that's a memento for your kid to go through? I mean, I think in terms of capturing memories, it's pretty neat because there are no videos of me like when I was a baby, like my first smile or my first steps. I mean, if you were lucky and you were a family who had a camera, maybe, but we ain't had that kind of money. So like it's all
Shoot,
talk.
That was the new wave,
right?
When you had a camcorder,
right? And it was just like that big thing. So it's like it would have been really nice if there was something that captured my first steps or your first words or your first smile or your first birthday. So I think that there is some credence to that. I don't know if you need a page. I'm not gonna tell somebody they shouldn't. I don't have any kids, so I don't know how I feel. Like right now I'm just indifferent. I don't see myself doing it, but who knows? I could have a whole baby and be like, and this is her Instagram page.
I changed my mind.
Like, here you follow my baby.
Right.
I could see myself doing that. But I also could see myself being like, nah, she's just on my page. She on his page. You can find her. You can find him. Like, whatever. Oh, I feel you feel away. So that's like,
I just don't feel like he or she needs their own Instagram page at a baby's age. Like,
it's not like they're... Yeah, but it's not like they see it. It's like, yeah, let them grow up, but they don't. Still. And it's the same pictures. It'd be the same pictures if I posted it on my page as if I posted the page. You wouldn't know.
Like, you turned our baby into a content creator early.
And if that's what we do, though, it's our job. It is like take your baby to work day all the time.
Shut your face.
I'm just saying.
Anyway,
are there any more thoughts you have on the topic of the social dilemma? Any things we missed?
I don't necessarily think that we missed much, especially without giving everything away. But
it's really good.
Y'all need to check that out and actually, like,
you're gonna be terrified.
And then you're gonna go through this whole thing like where I can just put my phone down and put it over there and not think about it. I think there is one thing that I think that really had it was very interesting when they were sitting at the dinner table. And the little lockbox.
Yeah, it's like a jar you put with the timer.
Yeah, and then the little girl, basically, like, none of them could really sit there and actually have a conversation. And she went into the kitchen, put on some little goggles, and basically hammered away at the little lockbox and everything like that to get her phone out. Like, we cannot be this addicted to our phones and to social media, but we are.
But the problem is the lack of discipline.
Man,
I couldn't imagine that happening. And if I was crazy because the father was black, because I was just like, ain't no way. My mom would be like, now what the hell I say?
Right.
I said no phone. So you got up, walked away, and busted some of my stuff. First of all, I wouldn't have no teeth today. So I couldn't imagine that happening. But yeah, it does get to the point where people can't have a conversation without having access to their phones. Just crazy.
But yeah, that's the only thing that I can remember to think of. But other than that, like, everything else is like, you just gotta see it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, I mean, it's free. But if not, go get Pookie Netflix code.
Right.
Everybody got somebody else's Netflix thing. If you don't have, unless you're the person.
There's a way to watch it.
There's a way.
Watch it as a family.
Without your phones.
Right.
Anything else?
No, other than that, thank you guys for subscribing and liking our content and supporting us. We hope that you continue to support us throughout our journey and our relationship. We will come to you with different topics that you will love and that we love talking about, because most of the stuff we are already talking about. Yeah. We're just talking about it in depth for you.
Yeah, some of these are like conversations we've already had. We're just doing it again.
So, but yeah, thanks again for your support, and yeah, back to you.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at If It Isn't Love Podcast. One thing on my to-do list this week is to create a Twitter. Now, I will say we don't really use Twitter. I don't use it personally. I don't use Twitter. I have one, but I don't use it. So, but apparently it'd be going down on Twitter. So we're going to have to create one for the purposes of our creative endeavors. Also, if you have any questions, any thoughts on topics you'd like us to discuss, feel free to email us at ifitisntllovepodcast@gmail.com. That's ifitisntllovepodcast gmail.com. Again, we really appreciate you guys. Go ahead, go over to Apple Podcasts, and please go ahead and rate our podcast a 5. Leave a comment, listen, share this with everyone. We try to make our content friendly for all types of people, although I do swear on occasion, because I swear, but I've been working on it so that
Jesus is working on you.
He know I cuss.
Okay.
I've been working on it so that all of our content, I don't have to put the explicit label on it.
Right.
I only cuss, well, unless you create, is nigga a cuss word? Because if it is, then I've cussed a lot. But I only said I said shit once, well, not twice.
Right.
I'm still not going to make this explicit. I'm going to say this is clean because it's still fairly clean. It's not like Welcome Ratchet. That's dirty.
Oh, yeah, that's dirty. Make sure you, if you're on YouTube, check us out there as well. We will be posting every Wednesday to our podcast channels, to your favorite podcast channels on YouTube as well. It will be live at the same time.
Yeah.
Go ahead and like and subscribe and get notified when we are posting those videos and posting all this content for you.
Yes. So that's it. And thank you guys. We will see you next week.
It's all because of you.